brother is 8 years older than me, so he was 8 when I arrived. And from what I understand, from what I know, it was pretty whatever before I arrived.
Right.
That's my perception. And I believe that from what I understand, my parents were probably, they were 40 when they had me. So it's a little different. Like growing up, I didn't have like my parents talking to other parents, and like the kids would be like, oh, why doesn't your mom hang out with my mom? And like, now I know, like, your mom was like 21. My mom was 40. Like, I remember rollerblading with my mom, and she fell.
Right.
And she almost broke her freaking hip. She was 40. Like, imagine, like, having a baby or, like, a 7-year-old when you're, like, almost 50. Like,
Right.
that, just that perspective, you know? And my brother was 8, so...
There's no sound. Whatsoever, no. Is that a edit?
No sound?
There's no sound. I thought it was that, but that wasn't.
There it goes. Can you hear us now? You can hear us? Buzz, can you hear us? Just want to make sure that we have sound. We can start over.
Let's do it.
Did you have sound now? I'll go check.
Yes, there's sound. Now they're saying there's sound.
Okay.
I don't know what happened there, but okay. Welcome to Pesci's Recovery Corner. We are a podcast, a recovery podcast. We talk about all things recovery, or lack thereof, depending on who you are or how you roll. We talk about alcoholism. We talk about addiction. We talk about mental health. Today, my very special guest is Becca.
Hey.
Becca has been on here before, but we decided to yank it because she was in a certain headspace during that time, and right now she's had this awakening where she wants to be back on here and hopefully help people. Well, I really feel like you can. So we delve into your past. We like to go through your past, where you were raised, where you were born, whatever, all that stuff, what you got into, all the stuff you experienced, and then later what happened. So again, you were born in Brea?
Correct.
They have a hospital in Brea?
No, Fullerton, St. Jude.
Okay.
Third time's a charm. Sometimes it takes more
That's
than
right.
once to start the day over.
That is correct.
Okay, so I was born at St. Jude in Fullerton, and my mom and dad had me when they were 40. My brother was 8 years old, so he's 8 years older than me. By the time I was 8, I started having some behavioral issues. And my brother was 16, and so like less than 3 years later, he was off to college. So he was probably... everyone's perception is different. Mine was obviously like I start thinking like communication in my family like was non-existent. There was a lot of gaslighting, lack of communication, like negative attention seeking behaviors.
So for people that don't know what gaslighting is, can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so an example of like the other day, I'm sorry if I'm all over the place, but my brother said, I always wondered why Becca, this was a conversation, my mom, my dad's on the couch, not involved.
Right.
And my brother said, yeah, I always wonder where like Becca had like sticker charts and marble jars, and like I didn't have that stuff. And Mom, you said... what you told me is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I just Googled what that meant. And she said, I never said that. You just make these things up. I don't know if you dreamt it. And he said, yes, you did. So it makes you, it takes away your truth. It makes you double think. Like it makes you like doubt yourself. Second guess yourself. Makes you think you're crazy. A lot of those movies, like Lifetime movies, guys, do that to the women. It's an abusive technique, and I don't think my mom is knowingly the way she is. I think that it's a defense mechanism.
Okay.
Whatever. I think she grew up in a lot of the same ways that I did.
Okay.
In an abusive, alcoholic, mental illness family, and I truly believe that. Yeah, alcoholism is a family illness. Yeah, there's no gene. And but mental illness is a gene. It's in the family.
Okay.
Alcoholism, behavior and actions and whatever. my thought, and this is all my opinion, it's
Mhm.
not written down, I've heard things, and this is just my belief, is that it's like passed down from generation to generation.
Mental illness?
No,
Alcoholism.
alcoholism.
Okay,
Correct.
okay.
So these like same behavior patterns with like the gaslighting and the abuse and everything
Mhm.
causes certain actions and patterns that get passed down. So there's no gene of alcoholism. Do you agree with that?
You know, it's interesting. When I went to school to become a drug and alcohol counselor, we were learning about genetically. They in school told us that alcoholism is genetic.
Okay.
Well, that's what they taught us in school, and based off of case studies and things like that. Like there was somebody who was born in a family that was put up for adoption, and later that person went and lived with a whole other family and became an alcoholic. And when they traced it back, and the person went back and like did his biological checkup, like to see who was his actual parents, when he found them, they were alcoholics. Now, does that mean it's genetic? Not necessarily. I think it can happen for some, and it can happen for others. Right? There's a lot of people that are alcoholics where they'll have 6 kids, and one of them becomes the scapegoat, one of them becomes the mediator, one of them is the alcoholic, one of them wants nothing to do with any of it, right? Depending. So you have, it can be, but I don't necessarily think that it is for all people.
Correct.
Right?
I totally agree.
Because in my family, like my mom and dad were not alcoholic. My sister and I became, we had our own addictions and alcoholism, right? And I actually had cousins in Iran, which I've never really met in person, who our great grandfather was a full blown addict, like major opium user, right?
Okay.
However, like his kids, which is my dad's side, there was no addiction as far as his sons and daughters. But then us, like later on, we became addicts and alcoholics. Is that genetic? I mean, if I really want to like think that it is, perhaps. I don't necessarily know that. I think sometimes drugs and alcohol just come into our path, and like we like to use them because we like the effect.
Correct.
Right? To overcome all the bullshit and the trauma and the mental illness and the things, because it really like soothes us.
Honestly, yes, thank you for that reminder. And so back to growing up, I believe that my brother had a completely different experience than me. One being he got into video games. I think he beat Zelda. I don't know what year that game came out. I think he might have been. 90s. He started playing Super Mario World, beat that game very young. He beat Zelda at a very young age. He's very smart, book smart, not whatever.
To beat Zelda is a big deal.
It is a big deal. He's very smart, like very like a pure smart, very talented,
right.
Very funny. And so he like escaped the craziness in his video games, and he also played sports. He played tennis, and I think that's it. Yeah, I played tennis, and like my parents tried to throw me in team sports, and I was just like, no, I can't do it, because I had so much craziness going up on here. They're like, well, team sports aren't for Becca. Yeah. I tried freaking ice skating, horseback riding, dance. I stuck with dance for a while. And I tried everything, honestly. Music, I couldn't. There was just so much chaos, and like it was crazy. And so yeah, he had video games and sports. So that was his escape. That was his way of expressing himself and getting out the craziness. But when I was 8, he was 16. I got hospitalized for the first time in 4th grade. They put me on antidepressants. I think
at the age of 8?
Correct. Because I was depressed. I read notes. Honestly, I was digging through some files looking for my social security card one time.
Yeah.
And I found like nurse notes, like depressed and withdrawn, often tearful. And I was like, whoa, nurse notes. I can't wait to read these. And 8 years old, got put on Zoloft, gained probably like 40 pounds. And I cut my hair off. I was going on the rooftops at school. I'd be like, hey, look at this. I can go on the roof. And I would like jump from like the building to building. I was like,
you were really doing that?
Yeah.
You were really jumping?
100%.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was manic.
That young?
Correct.
Okay.
I was insane. So like that was my first experience with drugs, but they were given to me.
Sure.
So to this day, I cannot take antidepressants. A true bipolar cannot take antidepressants without a mood stabilizer.
Okay.
My meds that I take today, I do take medication, are mood stabilizers. We don't need to go into what they are.
Now, did they diagnose you then as bipolar?
No, they diagnosed me as basically what is on this, to be on the spectrum. They called it Asperger's back then.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of like a taboo thing now.
They don't call it that anymore.
Correct.
Right,
That would be like a derogatory term now.
Right. Okay.
It's on the spectrum because there's just so many ways it could be on the spectrum.
Yes.
But yeah, it was because of my behavior in school that they diagnosed me with that, my outbursts. And then
when you're in a manic episode, you kind of can't help yourself.
Correct.
I've seen this because I work in treatment. I've worked with many people. When somebody is bipolar, I become compassionate. Other people might think this person's fucking crazy. Like, what's wrong with them? But when they're in a manic episode, the chemicals are imbalanced.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yes. I personally have never been in a manic state without medication. When I was a child, I'm child bipolar. Like, I have rage, can't control my anger. Wow. Like, honestly, in the environment I was in, how could I? When I was a little kid, I'd cry, break, and scream and rage. And I was told, shut up, like, isolate to your room, take everything off the walls. You're pooping and shitting and whatever, peeing in a bucket. Like, you cannot act like this. It is not acceptable. Okay. And then I was told you have Asperger's. And then I was told and given books to help me understand myself. You don't like to be touched. So no more hugs. And I was given this book, I forget, like, to give people, like, so help understand me. Like, for a little kid, I have Asperger's. This is what I don't like. This is what I do like. I was put in speech, as a kid, and I just remember this moment. They're like, okay, so what does it mean, to be all thumbs? Does it mean that you literally are made of all thumbs, or that you're clumsy? And I would just be sarcastic because I thought it was a joke. And they'd be like, yeah, so Becca's behavior today, we were working on idioms, and and I'd just be like, I don't understand why people are treating me this way. And I don't understand myself because I don't relate to this. Right. And I tried to kill myself in 6th grade. I cut my wrist.
How old is 6th grade? I can't remember.
11, maybe. I was probably younger because I'm an early starter in school. Okay.
So you tried to cut your wrists, like you actually went for the vein?
Honestly, I don't know. I wanted to die. I remember I got, like, kicked out of a dance recital for school. I didn't know that I was going to die. I just was, like, so in the moment, like, just wanted to feel better. And I don't know where, I still don't know. I, like, black out when I get really upset. Sure. I have no idea. I just know I remember the moment. I don't want to be too descriptive, but the way I did it, I'd never done it before or seen it before. It bled a lot. I went to school the next day, and I had an aide growing up, and I have been an aide as an adult. Okay. And for kids like me, and she saw blood through my shirt, and I had bandages on, and she called the fire department or whatever. And I remember running through hiding in bushes. I had a green belt in my house growing up, and I was hiding. I was scared. I thought they were going to take me away, and they did. And I was back in that, like, cold room at UCLA, in the mental institution, basically, a mental hospital. I remember they gave me Thorazine whenever I would cry too hard or get really panicked. I get to that place just totally overstimulated, totally off the walls. And I don't want Thorazine. It made me feel, I don't like downers. That's not what I'm about. But anyways, we talked about this before. If you've seen this, I went to a special school, lockdown facility, junior high, metal detectors. It was the most traumatizing experience I've ever been through in my life. Like, I didn't belong there. I just needed, like, love and patience. You know what I mean? Like, I just needed someone to say, it's okay to feel upset. Like, it's okay. You're okay. You can be upset. Like, I didn't need to be punished for being upset. Right. Yeah, I needed to be taught coping skills. I never learned coping skills until, honestly, like, the last couple of years. Recently, yeah. Okay. So I got diagnosed bipolar when I was in high school, and I got put on lithium, and here I go. Just got really big.
That's what the meds do, like.
Correct. Yeah.
They make people gain weight.
And food is a comfort.
Sure.
Yeah, it makes you feel good. And there's a saying, it's just random. Austin Powers, fat bastard. I love this quote. It's like, I'm unhappy because I eat, I think, and I eat because I'm unhappy.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's a good one.
I love that.
Fat bastard, you know?
Yeah, totally.
That resonated with me. I was like, you know? But yeah, so I like couldn't get my life together. You know, I had my first addiction was, or not my first addiction, but all I wanted was like to be accepted.
Mhm.
Like I wanted to be heard.
Right.
And there was a lot of yelling in my house. And like, I had this thought like the other day, I was like, why do I yell? And it's because, why does anyone yell?
Was it because of the yelling that was going on in your house?
No, I'm going to ask you a question. Don't think about anything.
Okay.
Why would someone yell?
To try to get their point across.
Yeah, because they're not being heard, right?
Yes.
They can't, so I was like, yeah, that's literally why would anyone yell? Because so someone could hear them, right?
Yes.
That's why I yell. Because when I'm saying something and then I hear a loud noise or someone is talking over me, I will raise my voice because they are not hearing me. And that's why there's so much yelling going on in my house. That's why I always yelled. And then and I'm yelling and someone's still not hearing me. So I will break something. Okay. So I'm like, listen, I'm trying to say my truth.
Yes.
That would be why. That's why any child would have some kind of outburst in my mind. That's what I did, I think.
Yes.
And I was not taught coping skills or how to communicate properly. And that's the type of behavior that happened. And so when I got older and I had this kind of behavior, it was unacceptable. Okay. So,
during your youth, besides the trying to cut your wrist, was there any cutting? Like
high school. I got a boyfriend. That was the first time I ever felt. Besides, I guess I had a boyfriend before I drank.
Right.
And that was the first time I felt acceptance from somebody. All I wanted was to be heard and accepted. That was the first real I needed and what I craved. Obviously from mom. My brother, I always wanted his attention. He'd be like, yeah, you want to come in and play 007? I'd be like, yeah, oh my God, I want your attention. And he'd be like, all right, here's the controller. And then it would be like, da-na-na-na.
Yeah.
And he'd just be like, all right, get out. They'd gang up on me and I'd die in the game. And just dying for attention, to be seen. And so I had a boyfriend. It was a very volatile relationship. And it wasn't just on his end. It was me too. Breaking up all the time and whatever. And then, my first real spiritual experience where I felt like I could do this and I have arrived was drinking. I drank.
How old?
What?
How old?
I think it was 14 when I had my first drink. My parents went to a Dodger game and my friend drank first. And then the following weekend, I was listening to AFI, having my own spiritual experience without alcohol, just moshing in my room,
right,
and having a fire inside, which is what AFI stands for. And then I drank and it gave me more fun. Okay. So, and then a couple weeks later, I go to a park with these people that I think are so cool. This is when scene was the big scene.
Sure.
This girl had pearls and she looked so cool and she was older than me and this guy was so attractive. I had a crush on him and we were all drinking 40s at a park and I was like, this is so cool. And everyone thought I was so cool because I was the only one that had a car. I was drinking. I could be funny. I could be myself and people saw me, And I got home and someone made a little picture on Microsoft Paint because we didn't really know how to edit photos then. Years later.
Yeah.
And it was me with the keys and a 40 and someone with a cigarette. And it was this, I think I still have it. It's great.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I have friends. They think I'm cool. I drive and I'm drinking. I'm going to do this every weekend. Right. And I never drank before. And I was just drinking Jack Daniels and shots and I would always black out. And my best friend moved away in 5th grade. And that is eventually what led everyone moved away. Everyone I got close to and was my friend and my soulmate or whatever I attached to people goes away. And that was just a pattern since literally preschool, kindergarten, 5th grade. My neighbors that I grew up with moved away in 3rd grade and it just kept happening. It was a pattern in my life and it still is. And I take a big part in that. But before I didn't, it was just this pattern that kept happening and just unfortunate circumstances that didn't have anything to do with me.
Did you feel abandoned when people?
Oh yeah, I was so sad when my best friend Kayla moved away. I had nobody. I had these mean girls that I told you about last time that were just horrible to me for no reason. And I see why that was so horrible now because of whatever, you know. And so yeah, I was accepted. I had this spiritual experience with the drinking, and then I gained all this weight, and I honestly, like, I had a boyfriend that was nice at the time. His name was Andrew. And we were together for 2 years after this volatile relationship for 2 years. And I became, like, honestly, like, so involved and invested in drinking. My brother moved back from Arizona, and he had an apartment that was, like, 2 minutes away from my parents' house. And I go over there all the time and party and drink. And I really had a crush on his roommate. And it was all about drinking and partying and music and fun. And I, like, my ex, my boyfriend at the time, was like, I have to move to Texas. And he was like, come with me, stay, let's get a place. And I was just, like, blowing him off because I wanted to drink. I remember one time he, like, threw my wine bottle. I liked drinking Yellowtail Shiraz with a Red Bull in the other hand because I saw a girl do it once, and I was like, she is so cool. I didn't have positive role models. And I remember him just grabbing it from me and smashing it on the ground. He's like, you're losing it. Like, what are you doing? Like, why is this important to you?
Right.
And, like, that was, like, not a big moment. I was just like, you're an asshole. Why are you breaking things? You know?
Right.
And he came to to my brother's balcony in Brea and was like, what are you doing? And he's like, let me take you home. And he's like, I'm leaving. And I was like, drunk. And I was like, okay. And then he left, and I was depressed. Like, I had never been depressed before. I was always manic and drinking and you know, and I wrote suicidal letters, like, real gnarly ones. Like, I was serious.
Wow.
I still have them. And my mom they took me away. They put me in UCI, and I was there for, like, 3 months. And I'm a kid.
UCI Medical Center?
Correct. Yeah. In the mental ward. And I'm a kid. Like, I don't know why. I know I'm depressed, but, like, you hear things and learn things, and you can't, if you're not ready to hear them until you're ready, you know?
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, I'm literally the girl in Girl Interrupted. They're just like, you're going away. You have this thing called borderline personality disorder, and you're getting on a plane tomorrow, and you're going to Boston, Massachusetts.
For treatment?
For residential treatment for 6 months. And I was like, what? Like, I know I have to go get my stuff. They're like,
how
no.
How old were you?
17.
So it was
like
still a teenager.
Correct. It was like, I was like in inches, more than 6 months from my 18th birthday. I was like, why couldn't this have happened? I could say no, you know? It was like, I asked my mom, like, why did that happen? She's like, it was your last shot at getting it together, you know? And this was recently. And I got on a plane the next day. I didn't get to go home. I didn't get to, like, say bye to my MySpace friends or anything. I just got on this plane and I went and I disappeared. I didn't drive for 8 months, none of it. And the story Girl Interrupted, the movie, I went to that hospital.
Oh, that's the
hospital? The hospital that was in that movie.
When did Girl Interrupted come out? A long time
maybe
ago?
Like 2000.
Okay, so 2001. It's an older movie now.
Correct. And she was taken away for being treated for borderline personality disorder. And in no way does that movie depict what that's actually like. Maybe a little bit. But that was the same hospital. And at the time, Mary Kate Olsen was there in a special ward. But that's whatever. The bowling alley from that movie is definitely the basement. The basement is in there. And whatever. I would, for a long time, I would give anything to go back there. But I just didn't get help. I came back home and I was real overweight. And I remember going to my friend Kayla's house. She lived in Newport. And I was like, how are you guys so skinny? There was this girl there who's probably watching this, and she was with her. She's sober now too, and she's a staple in my life.
I already know where we're going here.
You know her. And I said, how are you guys so skinny? And they're like, oh, it's speed. And I was like, what's that? It's not meth, right? Because I'd, like, watch videos in, like, UCI about meth. And, like, no, it's different.
Right.
I don't know anything about anything. And so we go pick up speed. And, I start my journey with that without getting too much into it. I just want to give my first experience with that. I don't know anything about sorting, whatever. They just said, put this in your nose, go like this, you know, the drill. And all of a sudden I did that, and I was in the worst pain I've ever been in. And then Papa Roach came on, cut my life into pieces.
Right.
I don't like that song.
Right.
But it was the greatest song I ever heard, and that was it. And That was actually, I just realized I was 15 when that happened. That was the first time I ever did that. This was not when I was 18.
Oh, so it was
when I was
younger.
8, that was a one-time experience. When I was 18,
Mhm.
I came back to that and I was told never smoke that because you'll end up breaking your pipe. Okay.
Right.
And I didn't know what that meant until I started doing that. I started doing it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost probably like 95 pounds. And I just remember like being so stuck on it
Mm-hmm.
and like saying like, how can I want to do this every day for the rest of my life.
I understand.
You know, and like being so stuck and like, I want to stop doing this, but I don't. And just waking up in the morning, I would leave my front door unlocked at all times. Like I moved out when I was 18
Mm-hmm.
and I lived in this crappy apartment in Anaheim and I didn't have like a lock on my door. Like it was so crappy that they just gave me like, you had to lock it from the inside. So I left it open.
Right.
And people just come in and out of my house at all times. Nothing bad ever happened to me besides me doing my own stuff to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I wake up in the morning and I'd like start making coffee and someone would come in with like a pipe and I'd be like, no, I'm going to make coffee today. And then like 5 minutes later I'd be on the couch, you know? And I remember I brought my parents into my house and I was like, I need help. Like I need to go to like Boston again. They're like, no. Like we're done paying for you. I was on disability at the time because I tried to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on federal disability, 100%, got like the money I needed to pay rent. My mom would buy my carton of cigarettes. I had food stamps. They were like done with me. They're like, she's fine. We'll leave her alone. I didn't have much communication with them. And then I said, what do you mean you're done? I was like, I need to go to rehab. And they're like, what do you mean? What do you want? I'm like, are you serious? I was like, I'm on meth. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, I need help. And they're like, why don't you just go to AA like your dad? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I need to go to rehab. And they're like, no, you need to go to AA. You just walk in and sit down. And you need to do a 12-step program. And so I tried doing that. And I would get 6 months, 9 months. This is like age 20. And then I remember not drinking on my 21st birthday. And I would just keep going back. And I remember maybe it like, I moved around a lot. I've moved probably like 25 times in my life. I don't never stay somewhere longer than a year until now. But I couldn't get a year. I got arrested and I went to sober living. And then that's when I found a guy. He was very funny. And I ended up crack cocaine became a part of my life.
Wow.
And I never messed with anything else.
How old were you then?
I think I was 22. Hi. And I said, I'm never doing anything else. I don't care about drinking. I just want this.
Crack was it.
That's it. And that's still the way I am. I don't.
It's captivating.
It's captivating. It is. Yeah. You know what else? I'm going to tell you something at the end. I'm just going to bring me back after this. You know what's really captivating? Nicotine.
Oh, sure.
It's when I hit my vape in the morning, Pej, when I hit my vape in the morning, when after it's been like 12 hours or maybe 9, oh my gosh, this cat is so cute. You can have this. You can just take this. It's real gold, but you can have that.
Play with that.
When I hit my vape in the morning and I'm just get right with God or not, it's better than the crack high.
Of course. I mean,
it really is, and that's all I need. But that's all I have to say about that.
Between the flavors and the nicotine, of course, when that stuff is in your bloodstream, you love it.
That's it. That's all I need. Back on track here. I got really scared because, like, when you think of a crackhead, what do you think of?
Person walking aimlessly in the streets. All
correct. Yeah. That can't be my story. Right, like I really care about like appearances and fashion and
so
friendships.
How long was your crack addiction for?
I never used crack more than 2 days in a row.
I understand that.
My crack addiction was sporadic, random. I only used with one person.
Right. And
then later on, after I got sober for an amount of time, I'd use with one person. Like I had like, it was controlled.
Right. You know, people might not believe that, but here's why I believe it. Okay. There was a guy once, like probably 8 years ago, that asked me to help him in Westwood, LA. He told me that he sat down and he goes, I think I might have an addiction problem. I go, explain. He said, well, my dad has a shop in downtown LA. And I only go down there on Saturday mornings to get away from everybody and everything, just to go down to his shop, and I do crack from 9 a.m. till noon, and then I'm done. And then I come back home, and I'm good for the rest of the week. I smoke weed here and there, but like I'm like, well, that.
Did you tell him he might not be an alcoholic or an addict?
No,
Good.
I let it be, because I was just
Good.
like, this is the most interesting thing I've ever heard, because I know when I do crack, it's all about doing a lot of crack and continuing to do crack. And I'm not saying I still do crack, but what I'm saying, when I did crack, past tense, like it became my everything. I had to have a lot of it. And if I ran out, I'm going to go to great measures to be able to continue to nurture the crack addiction. But you were controlling it.
That's a yet.
Yeah.
I have yet to push a cart.
Okay.
And I'm just saying that's because of grace. And I have been there, and I've accepted to my innermost self that I have addiction. And I've been there where I can't stop. That would be a yet with that substance.
Absolutely.
And I truly believe, and I was truly believing for a long time, that I had received too much grace, and I really had to get my act together. Like it was dangerously too much grace.
Yes.
There's no such thing. Someone told me that there's no such thing as too much grace. And I kept going to the room, back to the rooms. I got sober in 2015 and stayed sober for almost 5 years.
Okay.
And the magic that happened there was great, but
so
now
the magic did happen within that 5-year period.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh yeah, magic. And I just wanted that outside stuff. And to me now, I just like, if you're looking for that outside stuff, like, and you haven't found yourself yet, just stop. Like people are like looking for relationships when they have like 3 months sober. Like you don't know who you are. Like,
thank you.
No,
thank you for saying this.
I was there, man, and I found like love, and it was so beautiful.
My friend asked me the other night. He said, and this guy's got like 27 years. He said, "Pej, what's your take on relationships and recovery?" I'm like, well, I mean, you have a lot of time sober. Are you asking me this because you're bouncing it off me or wanting to see what my opinion is? Because truth be told, like when I was newly sober, I didn't know shit about myself in a sober state. So I wouldn't even know how to talk to a woman, like in a romantic way, right? But I see a lot of people, like you take the drugs and alcohol away from them, the first thing they go towards is
they want that outside stuff.
They want that sex.
Yeah.
Something that's going to make them feel more validation, recognition, all
sex
these
is
things.
Different than relationships, just saying if you can do it the right way.
Well, a lot of people's motives are to have a relationship that could eventually transpire into sexual.
I'm well aware.
That's why we have a sex conduct list of,
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I believe truly a person needs to find themselves, because a vacant soul cannot fill a vacant soul, right?
Yes.
So you have these rehab romances, or people that are newly sober and they meet someone on the AA campus within a few like weeks, right? Or even in detox, for that matter. They meet like somebody in detox and suddenly they fall in love. I've only seen it work for a select few.
And the percentage is so small. Why do you think it's going to be, you're the exception to the rule? Like really, you're not the exception to the rule. It's not even worth trying to be the exception to the rule. Just don't.
Find yourself first and then go find somebody.
Seriously, like don't even make it a priority. Like I've done it.
Yeah.
I was carried. I was babied through alcohol, the 12-step program.
Right.
Like I got sober in 2015. I got a sponsor. Like I always thought I was too sick for this program. And why was I too sick for this program? Because up here, right? And there was literally people that were pushing carts and like completely out of touch with reality. And I can tell you, like I can be really out of touch with reality. I can get way out there. I can get so emotionally dysregulated as being a borderline. I can get so far out there in mania or so down in depression that I can't even bring myself out of it, because I convinced myself that my only happiness was a mania, and then my depression is the sink of that, and that the only solution is suicide. And if anyone is talking about suicide, I don't care. It's to be taken seriously.
Sure.
And honestly, a hospital isn't necessarily going to be what saves that person.
When you say a hospital, you mean like the treatment stays that you had at those certain places where you
went
for 3 months, or the place in Boston. When you're in those settings, what does it look like day to day? Are you sitting, just sitting in your room? Is there groups? Is there therapy?
There's groups, but they're not saying like, hey, you need spiritual help.
Right.
And if they are, you're not listening or ready to hear it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And honestly, that's all that you can do. They're not saying like you need to practice self-love and learn how to fall in love with yourself.
Okay, I agree
You need
with
to
you.
not focus on worldly things. They're not saying that. And even if they are, you might not be ready to hear it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They're not able to plant seeds and watch you grow and make sure you grow. Like, I don't even know. You're not. I'm sorry, that was a rant, but like, they just make sure. They literally are just there to make sure you're not a danger to yourself or others, and maybe get your meds right.
Okay.
And I've never, ever gotten the help I needed in a hospital or been a danger to others. I've been a danger to myself when I was a child.
Okay.
And I've never, as an adult, been a danger to myself when I wasn't on drugs or drinking. Right. And that's why they let me out the next morning. Every time someone's like, I'm always like, when I'm like real messed up, I'm like, I need help. Like, I'm gonna like, I'm so dysregulated. I don't know how to communicate this, but I'm like, I'm so out of it. I need help. Like, I need to be locked up. And they're like, yeah, like, we know, like, you're going to be, I'm laughing because it's like so insane. Like, I'm just like, in the moment, I can become so screwed up and so out of touch with reality. 3 days ago, Pej, this just happened. I'm calling people and someone was like, yeah, you're like out of it right now. You were acting crazy. And I'm like, I know, I don't want to be. And they're like, then don't. And I was like, I can't right now. And they're like, get off the phone and go to God. And I can be in the hospital being like, yeah, I need help. Like, I'm going to kill myself. It's literally the only solution I can think of because it has to stop.
Right.
And they've literally said to me, you're going to be put away for a long time. You're going to get the help you need. And then they let me out the next morning when I'm calm. And I've walked past that same nurse and gone,
bye. Let me ask you a question. So as far as for borderline, as far as for bipolar, if a person comes to terms with, if they're diagnosed with borderline, and I know I asked you this before.
Yeah.
Some people will accept it and say, okay, there's something here. Maybe I never noticed that or realized like what that is, or what is that? I don't know what that is. But like when they diagnose somebody with borderline that accepts that they're borderline, do they medicate them?
Sometimes.
Do they suggest medication?
I don't know. I've always been medicated because of my bipolar. Right. For borderline, that can look a lot of different ways. And yeah, I've never been diagnosed full on borderline. They say traits, but I relate to like almost all of it. Okay. That's my truth. But yeah, I take on things and like, oh, that's all me. But like, I don't know. I'm like healing. I'm on a journey to heal from all this. Right. But yeah, I've never been diagnosed. Yeah, you're full on borderline. Like you have traits. Right. But if you are, and someone says you are, I've been diagnosed. How many things have I told you in this? Yeah, anxiety. That's another one. Yeah, all of it. Manic depressive, bipolar. But honestly, so it can manifest itself in different ways. You can act out in different ways, and one of them being anxiety, depression. So you might take something for anxiety. Xanax is a big one that's prescribed if you're not in recovery. I have non-narcotic anti-anxieties. Good. They're in the antihistamine family. Help? No. They help for sleep. You know what really helps for sleep? And I'm not dissing medications, dude. Melatonin gummies.
They work.
Oh my God. So I'll take like trazodone, which is a sleeping, I think it was a antidepressant in like the 60s. Right. It helps for sleep. You feel like such shit when you wake up, but I'll take that and I'll lay down and then I'll be like, oh, I forgot my melatonin. I'll take my melatonin gummies. I'll like knock right out. If I don't have melatonin, I'm having trouble sleeping. And
the trouble sleeping consists of insomnia, racing thoughts.
Honestly, all of it. Depending on how I'm feeling. It could be like I'm so like right now. It's like I'm really creative right now. Like I want to express myself, whether it be through music, writing, whatever. That I like. There's not enough time in the day to get it all out, especially working full time. I'm like, I want to get the hell out of here, dude. I need to express myself and get all this information out. Or if I'm depressed, it's like, I want to die. Like the why am I here? Whatever. If I'm like really manic, I just can't sleep because of racing thoughts, or like, I'm just not tired. I want to whatever. Or if I just want to watch TV and I'm not tired or whatever, you know?
So question for you. When you say, okay, the other day, 3 days ago, let's say you're going through it, right? And you call somebody and they say to you, take it to God. What do you think about that?
I love it.
Do you?
I'm gonna give
do
you.
you mind it? Like,
no.
Do you believe it?
Oh yeah.
Like,
can I tell you a story?
absolutely.
Just literally last
Yes.
week. I really hope someone from my work isn't watching this, but they know what happened. There was this guy that got hired on the same day as me, and there was something. You were part of this story, and thank you.
I am.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What the hell?
You'll see.
Okay.
You were a part of it without knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
There was just this weird energy. First of all, I started this new job like 3 weeks ago, and there was just I got in trouble because I was showing up late every day for 4 days without knowing I was showing up late. They just thought I was some asshole who walked in with Starbucks. It was 30 minutes late every day. And I got called out for it. They're like, you're going to get fired. And I was like, why? You show up late every day. So I corrected that. And this was like where it started. Like, I know my truth.
Right.
They might not, but that's on them. Take it. You can have it. And so that started. And then just weird vibes, energy. The vice president of sales was just really weird. And like, I was getting in trouble for things that weren't my fault. Right. Okay. And then I was like, this guy's acting weird. That sits across from me. He's acting very strange. He's telling me to do things that I know are wrong, but I'm listening to him because he's the direct point of contact. Mm-hmm. He starts acting extra bizarre. I go home. I just get on TikTok. I'm just starting on TikTok. And I just, all of a sudden you come up. And how do you know when someone's on meth video pops up? I didn't even watch it. I was all, oh my God, this person is on drugs. They're on drugs, and I don't know what it is, but it clicked like 100%. Like that's what it is. Mm-hmm. Going to work the next day, this person comes in late with a hat, sunglasses, and their cheeks are sunken in extra, and they have picked at their face. I panic. I get up. I call my sponsor, and she's like, "Whoa! You have to slow down." And I'm like, "No, I don't need to slow. I've been drinking too much caffeine lately. I started like the mania process. This was a few days ago. She's like, you need to slow down. I don't have time to deal with this. You need to go. Where's God in this?" And I was like, right here. And she's like, you go in, you put him at your desk. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Watch me. Wow. And I was like, okay, you're sitting here, and I write this note, "Dear God, it's me, Becca." Where is that from? A 3rd grade book, right? Mm-hmm. I need you to make it. This is also from a friend, the saying, abundantly clear. That's what I wrote, and I underlined it. When I'm on the right track. I also made a bad move, and I messaged someone, and I told them what I thought about this person, and I needed to have a conversation with somebody. Whoa. When I am on the right track during this conversation, I need to feel it in my bones, in myself, and in my words, and I don't want to stir the pot. No. I just want to get the point across and communicate, and I need direction. Thank you.
That's it.
That's it. And I pulled up the note, put it in my flannel pocket, put it against my heart, and took a deep breath. And I had to go have this conversation. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it was like the exact thing that should happen, because I needed to keep my nose out of other people's business, stay in my own hula, you know? But it was a learning experience for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I went in there and I told them, I need to know who to go to because this person is not giving me direction. I got who I need to go to. Mm-hmm. And I got the direction, and I went to work the next day. He's gone.
Yeah, we know what happened there.
Yeah. And the work's going better. And I don't know.
Awesome. So I want to go back to, you had 5 years of sobriety.
Correct.
And then you relapsed?
Mm-hmm. One night. Correct. That's not a brag or no flex whatsoever. I threw away time. Yeah.
I actually don't see it as flex. I think that some people relapse and they're off to the races for a while. Yeah. Right. Or they attempt to come back right away, but they keep relapsing. Mm-hmm.
That happened to me recently, actually. You have my date on there wrong.
Right. So then, but sometimes they realize, holy shit, this isn't good. I got to come back all the way. So did you continue to relapse, or did you do it one day and come back, and since then you've stayed sober?
So May 6th or 7th or whatever, 2020. Yeah, over COVID. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, I was so wrapped up in what other people thought and whatever. I was depressed, moved back home, breakup. I bottomed out, regressed back to 17, honestly.
Sure.
One night, had too many letdowns. I was dry, and I relapsed. I came home. It was COVID. I was living at home. My mom said, "You need to drop your clothes, shower. You're done. You can't do this." I said, "Okay." And I came right back, and I joined meetings, and I did it the right thing. And I got, I think, like almost a year and a half. And I thought I was doing everything right, but like I cared so much about other people's approval, what other people thought of me, what other people were doing.
Mm.
And it was so bad. And then I went out again. And then I was like, no, I got this, and I went out again. I didn't care. I was depressed. I lived with a girl, and it was such a codependent relationship. And I needed this space to learn how to love myself. And now I know why I am here. I live in a little back house back in Brea.
Yeah.
And I've lived there alone for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been the hardest, most beautiful thing that's ever happened to me. And yeah, my new sobriety date is the day after my belly button birthday, which is October 19th, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like 92 days. But I've been around, and I've been listening, and I've always been listening. Yeah. I don't think we're truly ready to hear things or like act out in the things we know until we're ready to. And yeah, like for all I know, I might have like a full-blown depressive like episode tomorrow, but right now and right here is all I can do and be in. And today I treated my sickness. Mm-hmm. I did my positive affirmations this morning, which I have been doing longer than 90 days. Mm-hmm. I expressed myself through like words. And I had a routine. Like when I listen to positive things, I do listen to some words from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I do not read them because I get lost. Mm-hmm. I listen to them verbally on YouTube, and I pray and I surrender. Like I'm not in charge. And all of these things are just my opinions and beliefs, mm-hmm. but it's what works for me. And I just have to learn, honestly, to breathe. Mm-hmm. Pause and slow down. And when I'm like, and just like, I'm not in charge. Right. And like, I do get overwhelmed, and yeah, I can get real out there.
But wound up.
Oh yeah.
Somebody said here, let's see, we should be friends. That's Jocelyn.
I would love to be friends.
And, trauma changes our DNA.
Mm-hmm. Issues in the tissue. I've heard that. Totally. I love it.
So when you reached back out and wanted to do this again, you said that something changed to where you had this realization that you were thinking differently than how you felt when we recorded before. Mm-hmm. I think that was like probably summer of 2021 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And now you say like you got sober again in October 2021, correct? Mm-hmm. So it's been, what would you say, 80, 90 some odd days?
That I've been sober, or yes. Since then? Oh yeah, that I've been sober, correct.
Since you've been sober. Why did you want to come back out? Was it because you felt like people need to hear where Becca is right now in her life? Like as far as what you have to offer and that you're willing to help people? Because
correct.
I think you had a realization, like rather than going inward, like during that time when you were probably in here a lot, worried about like, this shit's going to get out. People are going to hear this. And
I was so worried about it.
I remember. So we said, we'll just take it all down. We'll take it We'll take it down on Facebook, YouTube. We don't need to put this out there. But I love your bravery. Something happened.
Oh, yeah.
I see a fucking major shift in you just saying, and I don't like to push anything. Like I had another guest that was on here who's actually wanting to come back too.
Ooh, I love that.
And she was worried about some things that she said that might be incriminating. So for her in a certain, I won't even say where. Like, no. She did some things that she felt like later on, I shouldn't have said that shit. So I always say, like, what don't we want to talk about? What do we want to talk about? Like, what happened that you decided that you want to come back out? Like, what was that shift in perception and belief? Like, why did you think it's okay now?
Honestly, the first part of it, I have a lot of people that stay away from me.
Yeah.
And it hurts so bad. It was an ex at first. I have a friend that was very close to me, and she doesn't talk to me anymore. And like, it was like way worse than a breakup. It was like my soul
Right.
like broke. Like my soulmate was removed from me. And then like sometimes my mom is so right and like, whoa, you know, like I hate that. The other day, like I like went to everyone except her, and I went to her and she pissed me off. I yelled at her, and then I was like, dude, she gave me exactly what I needed. She said, do the next thing, and like, which is do your laundry and go to bed because you're manic. And she said it in a very mean way, and I was like, it was the best help I needed. But
like
she told me
she's kind of got used to it.
Oh yeah. Being a little kinder would be like amazing, but
yeah, say it nicely.
yeah, but she told me like you rely on other people. You put way too much pressure on your friends and on your ex-boyfriend for everything, right? So I really wanted to learn to go within and go to source, which is my higher power, the universe, whatever.
I love it.
And then I was like so stuck. I don't want to rely on anybody for anything.
Right.
And then like my God kept like showing me like that you can't. Like
Right.
there's no way. And he kept showing up through other people like randomly and just like giving me like these like other perceptions of why someone behaved the way they did or why someone acted like that, and like being like, whoa, like way too much. It was very overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And I just thought like, yeah, I just wanted to like make a statement that like I get it. Like I don't know, like I've found the answer and it's comes from within, and I get why people have to stay away. Like I know I'm a lot. I know I'm not hard to love, but I'm hard to handle sometimes, and like if you're listening to this and you've stepped away, I'm honestly just wanted to say that I would love to hear what your boundaries would be with me. I'd love to have a conversation. And if you don't want to, that's totally okay. I will love you from afar.
I love that. So let me tell you something. This is
cat almost fell.
No, she does her own little balancing act. So this is what matters to me. This is what I love. Whoever sees this, whenever they see it.
Correct.
I mean, a lot of people scour the internet looking up BPD, borderline personality disorder, bipolar, all of that, right? I get it. Like, and not just because I work in the field, but like, I often will have certain families that want me to work with their loved one that has addiction, alcoholism, but also, co-occurring disorders, dual diagnosis, where, and I would never bring up names, but like I've worked with some people to where I start to wonder to myself, let's say an individual had like major bipolar, right? To the point where I saw the highs and the lows, the hot and the cold, the days of like manic, like just being total, like major mania. But then on other days, like where they're just feeling like they're on top of the world. Let's go on a spending
grandiosity.
Spree. Everything's great. You know what I mean?
Totally,
and I love it. And I want to rule the world. I want to conquer the world because I can't. I've seen people in full-blown mania where they think they are God-like, or they are God, or they are like God's number one disciple, right? Like a lot of talk. And so I like to delve deep within them and learn about them and see like, where's this stemming from? I understand chemical imbalances. I understand that. Often a lot of people are not diagnosed until they're about 20, 21. Like
if ever.
But like I see, like when working in a treatment setting, a lot of times a first diagnosis was made for a lot of people. I'm not saying all, but like for a lot of people is around like 20, 21 years old is when something is different, like where it's evident, like where a family member will take somebody somewhere to really like see what's going on and put him in front of a psychiatrist. And then, but this is what matters to me in all of this, like in that one book, it says there are those who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but they too can, like, if they get honest they have the capacity to get honest with themselves. They too. So hearing you talk about your relationship with a higher power, to me, it's monumental. It's really, really good. It's good stuff because I think that I believe in a higher power. I believe in a higher power, which I call God now. For a long time, I would just call it higher power, right? Like, because a certain book that we read would call it higher power. So I thought I'll just hide behind the words higher power because I don't like to say the God word because it sounds so much more than what it should be. But in reality, it is so much more than what it should be.
Yeah.
It is godly. It's God,
Correct.
right? So I believe God does not want his children, her children, whatever you want to call God, to suffer. I don't think that. I do not. And I understand, we all have trauma. I've never actually stood in front of a psychiatrist and been diagnosed, but I know that over the years, had I ever been diagnosed, I probably would have gotten diagnosed with ADHD and ADD and all, because my attention deficit, there was a few things. I could be standing in front of somebody, they could be talking to me right in my face, and I look like I'm listening, but I'm thinking about everything more than I don't even know who's in front of me right now. I don't even know who's here. They say the average human being has 60,000 thoughts in the course of a day.
I love that you said that. Go for it.
This old tweaker right here, I'm gonna tell you this right now. 180,000. I just had 10 thoughts within the last 10 seconds, right? That's the way my head moves. So in reality, I believe that we that are in recovery, that are recovering or recovered for that matter, are in this realm, it is of vital importance to tap into something greater than ourselves to overcome this stinking thinking. This whole philosophy that we build in our head, we build a case against everybody, we build a case against ourselves, and we think because we heard someone say at one time, you're never going to amount to shit. You're just a piece of shit. When you look at you, 16 years old, and you keep this up, and by the time you're 25, you're still gonna not be shit. And then all of a sudden, I start believing that shit, right? I really think, oh my God, I ain't shit, right? I'm a piece of shit. And truth be told, and I had TJ on the other day, and he was talking about it's conditioned thinking. We are perfect just the way we are when we were first born. That is the way God wants us to be. And we all have experiences, and they're all spiritual experiences. We're just in the human form. And we get to just go forward through life and process shit. Now, during pandemic, there's a lot of people, mental health just blew up. And and this was to be expected. The whole world is on edge because financially, a lot of motherfuckers are worried, right?
That's the number one.
For sure.
Worse.
And then on top of that, the fear that's instilled into society, and I'm not anti-mask, although I have very close friends that are anti-mask and anti-vax, right? So, but it almost felt like for the first few months of it, I felt like I was in it was like a bad dystopian, 80s movie.
I didn't know, I didn't know if the world was going to go back to normal, if we were all going to die.
Sure.
There was just so much unknown, and I had so much turmoil inside myself.
Sure you did.
And then I relapsed, and I lived with my parents. I went back to the home that caused all these issues. It was terrible.
I mean, I had racing thoughts myself.
Yeah.
I used to be a conspiracy theorist when I was on meth. When you're on methamphetamines, everything has a secret within a secret behind it, right? So I started wondering shit. And on top of that, I kept thinking to myself, what about my brothers and sisters that have major paranoia, major schizophrenia, OCD, especially the OCD, the germaphobes, how the fuck are they and then I start thinking to myself, I see people out driving their cars with their masks on alone in their car. I'm thinking, what's the psychology behind that? I did a post about it recently.
Oh, I'd love to know. I feel what's going on.
Do you think the COVID's going to come through the vents into the car? Or there's no one with you?
Yeah,
and I understand. I understand. Sometimes some people are so used to wearing the mask, they forget to take it off when they're in the car. But I really think there's people out there that are so in so much fear. And so, with that said, imagine what's going on in the chemicals in many people's brain chemistry.
Oh yeah,
as a result of the way we never expected anything like this.
If my brain is crazy and I'm just driving, I have times where I just look at a building and it's a building from far away, and there's a group of 20 in one of those little windows, and there's thoughts in every single one of those brains, and how many people are in one of those buildings.
Right.
And there's two of us here talking to one another, having an experience.
It's happening everywhere.
It's all over the place.
All over. Yeah. So this is what I hope you will do moving forward. This is what and I'm sure you already do. being a woman that's in recovery from substances that also has had, like, I put it on one of my things and somebody said, don't call it a mental disorder, call it a mental illness. Like, sure, okay, fair. A disorder sounds like you are, incapable. But if you have illness, it might be curable or something that you can work on.
Yeah, it's their character defects and trauma and complex PTSD is what it is. It doesn't have to be like a label.
Sure,
right?
It doesn't have to be labeled. So I believe that we can all work through our traumas, whatever they may be. I mean, I got a friend right now that's got major bipolar that sits in his room and says he has thoughts of suicidal ideation all day long. And I've tried to help him. I try to reach my hand out to him. I've gone and visited with him. I talk to him. I listen. I like to listen more. I'm not there to like sit there and point out, is this because you're bipolar? Is it because you're still smoking weed? Things like that. But like, I worry about him because I don't want him to like just off himself one day, right?
Yeah.
So I want to be there for him when he wants me to be there for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, exactly. That's all you can do.
And I don't want to force myself to be there for him, but like I really love the guy. Like I really do. I worry, I think about him every day. But in reality, like you give hope to people. Like whoever gets in front of you, to me, it doesn't matter who's didn't want to deal with you because you're too much.
Yeah.
Right? To me, what matters is for somebody to listen to this stuff and want to become your friend, and you hopefully, God willing, talk about your relationship with your higher power to give them hope. Because for me, in my recovery process, because I was a depressive fool and anxiety ridden to the core, right? Fear of the unknown was my biggest fear. That was where my anxiety resided, right? And depression was all of my traumas from the past and me not being able, like me just being stuck in it. I would rob myself of this present moment.
Yeah.
This is it. This is all I really have. That's life.
Yeah.
This is life, right?
Correct.
That's not life, and that's not life. This is life. That's an experience, and this is like 95% of this shit isn't even going to happen, right? If it happens.
98.8.
Probably.
99.9.
Let's just say 99.99. So keep doing what you're doing because we need you and we need more like you that have had I love everything I've heard today. I believe that if people need to relate with you, just what I got from you. When the lady said she wants to be your friend, you said, let's be friends.
Yeah.
But fuck yeah. Because you never know who is out there in the world that's going through their own shit, and they might just happen to come across this and try to find you and get a hold of you. If they get a hold of me, I'm going to ask you, is it okay if I let them get a hold of you? Because people need to know about this stuff. And like, God does not want us to suffer. I don't believe that God wants us to suffer. God wants us to be able to live in God's light.
Connect. To be able. Someone told me, I'm so sorry to cut it off. Yeah. Someone told me when I was like in it, they're like, Becca, God doesn't want you to be happy. He wants you to be strong. And my response was like, well, I'm going to kill myself if that's true. Yeah. And so I made it not true. Yeah. And one of my things that I wrote in my affirmations journal was, God wants me to be strong and joyous and rejoices when I am.
I love it.
Yeah.
On a daily basis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, this was so good. By the way, just so you know, we did not intend to both be wearing red. She says that she doesn't really like red, although it looks really good on her. You are stylish.
Thank you.
You have I love your personality. I think you're a great human being. Like I told you this before in the other one that we took off the air. Like you're a deep spirit. Like you have a good soul.
Thank you.
I recognize that. I like that about you. I love that about you. So you always have my friendship.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you coming out. And and maybe in the future we have you on again.
Love it.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. We love you all. Thank you for tuning in today. And we will be back on next Wednesday with my friend Christina Simos. I think that's how you say it. She's going to be my guest on Wednesday at noon. Love everybody. Bye.